Oh, hey Shamir. I'm a big fan of your music. I've been watching a lot of your Beats Explained videos, and I've been working on a new project and some new music. And I was wondering if there's any VSTs you can kind of recommend to give me an idea of what to use. I feel like if I use some of these more expensive VSTs, like you do, I could probably like grow and make better music so much more faster. I feel like me using some of these other like plugins or these stock effects just aren't it. They're not good to me. Oh, thanks, bro. I'm glad you like the music. I've been working hard on it. Yeah, that means a lot. You don't really need any expensive plugins or anything like that. You can get away with stock Ableton or FL effects or just pretty much stock effects. Like all plugins really do are make your job easier and just make it a little bit quicker. But if you put a little bit of time in, you don't have to spend that much money up front for your music. Like you can just make your stuff. Nah, man, but I want to be like you, bro. I feel like if I had your plugins, if I had all your stuff, I'd be making crazier music. Like all my stuff is boring. Like I can't do a lot of this stuff. Like I need these very certain plugins that you're using, or else I can't make good music. Well, that just sounds dumb. That's not true. That's that's not true at all. What the are you talking about?
There is no such thing as a free plugin that will make you a better music producer or an artist. I've had this conversation a couple of times before, talking to like newer upcoming artists or just artists in general who ask me like, oh, what kind of plugins I use, what is my decision making when picking plugins, or how I make my music in a certain way where like they imagine like, oh, if I get this and that, if I get this and that, if I get this and that, I'll be able to make amazing music as long as I have the plugins like that these other producers have. I want to kind of kill that narrative because no, I feel like personally, this is my opinion, everything I'm saying here is my opinion, but there's no such thing as like the plugin you put into your mix that makes it all sound better. There's no such thing as the sound that's going to do that. I don't believe there is any VST you can download that's going to make you a better artist. I do believe there are VSTs that exist out there that exist as shortcuts. They exist as things to speed up your process instead of just being completely different. Now, I will say there are very certain special plugins and VSTs that exist out there, just have completely different synth values that do not come stock or things like that. But having those won't make you a better artist or make your music inherently better. It'll just be cool sounds, I guess. But what I will do today is I'm gonna go through a set of plugins that I recommend that are completely free that you can download. There are some caveats and negatives I'm going to talk about when I talk about some of these plugins, because not everything, if it's free, it's usually not perfect, but some of them are pretty just good to have in your arsenal as a starting producer. I want to kind of also help you guys understand that paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for some stuff that you can do with like stock Ableton EQs and stuff like that, I don't recommend. No. So we're going to start off with synths and generators and instrument plugins. The main plugin I'm going to recommend first is 100% Spitfire Labs. Spitfire Labs is completely free. I want to call it a sampler essentially. It has an extremely simple and unique UI. It's a starting producer's dream for great quality sounds. It's constantly updated. It's just up there with some of my favorite like VSTs I've ever downloaded. It has my favorite piano like I've ever had. I also use a lot of other Spitfire stuff. They made a bunch of Ableton packs I downloaded that they've turned into samplers and instrumentals as well. Not instrumentals, into instruments as well for Ableton, and it's amazing. I think it's awesome. And like I said, it's always being updated and there's always something for someone. So Spitfire Labs, a definite. Check it out. This second one is kind of an Ableton only thing, but it's more of like just something to have. Granular 2 is a Max for Life plugin that you can download. Max for Live are kind of like, imagine it as a framework for people to build cool stuff in Ableton with. Ableton kind of releases it and allows people to just kind of do whatever they want with it. People make really cool sounds. Granular 2 is a free granular synthesis Max for Live instrument. You can throw samples from your, like, that you have personally in there, and you can do something as crazy as like turn a snare into a synth and mess with that. You can add FM and other things like it. And if you get onto Granulator very early and kind of watch some videos on it and watch people kind of explore with it, it's a great tool to learn early on because you can build so much more with it. The only negative I will say is it can have a steep learning curve. If you mess up a couple of things, you can end up with a bunch of stuff out of key. And if you're a new producer, please don't put your stuff out of key, please, for the love of God. You're not Jacob Collier. You can't have weird notes. I'm sorry. For people who don't use Ableton and use FL Studio, I'd say an okay replacement is FL Granulizer. It's pretty decent granular synthesis. For people who use things like Reaper or Logic, I don't have anything I can recommend just yet. If I find any free VSTs or anything like that, I'll link them in the description as like an okay or something I would recommend after I try it out. Complete Start is a suite of plugins that are completely free from Native Instruments that are really nice, I'll say. Complete Start is a plugin bundle from Native Instruments. It gives access to a lot of starter versions of a lot of their plugins, stuff like Reactor, Contact, Complete Start, and Guitar Rig. I would say the only negative I have for this is majority of the plugins they give you access to are their player versions. Their player versions are essentially like kind of limited in some ways. Guitar Rig doesn't have all of its amps and cabinets and stuff like that. Contact can't run a lot of libraries that aren't Native Instrument libraries. And Reactor, when I downloaded it, it kind of felt like a 30-day, it said like I had an hour trial or something like that, which was really weird, but I'll have to look into that more. But Complete Start especially, I will say, is a really good thing to have as a producer, especially if you're like me and you don't know piano from heart, or you like slowly are learning. You can actually transpose your chords in Complete Start, and there's a way to wire it in Ableton where you can like take the notes you're playing into Complete Start. Like if you have a general idea how chords sound, you can take the notes you're playing and it'll automatically transpose them into key, which is really cool and really great to have. Next, we're talking about effects. The first effect on the list is Fresh Air. Fresh Air is I'll say Fresh Air is a presence booster plugin effect that goes on I mostly run it on vocals. It's made by a company called Slate Digital, who makes really nice VSTs and really nice mic emulation programs that I think are really cool. Fresh Air is great for adding vocal presence and taking away a lot of harshness in some of your vocals. It's really nice to run and I think it's really cool. The only negative I'll say about Fresh Air is there's only 2 knobs. There's like a link button and it's not a lot of stuff to mess with and edit. So that's one of the faults I'll say for a lot of newer plugins recently. A lot of people will release they'll release a lot of plugins out. It won't leave a lot to edit. They'll just kind of do a lot of your job for you. I personally don't like it a lot of times, but if you guys enjoy it, definitely check it out. Next effect plugin is Isotope Vinyl. Isotope Vinyl is a great way to age sounds. It's one of my favorite things to add to melodies or loops, just to mess with the energy of it. It's really easy, it's really simple. You can like take a sample like that you had, or like a loop you had, and then hit like 1950s. Think of it as a cool EQ that also does some other stuff under the hood. I don't really have a lot of negatives about this. I'd say I don't really like the updated version of Isotope Vinyl. I kind of prefer how I looked before, but you should try it out. I think it's a really good VST. Next 2 VSTs, yes, instead of doing one at a time, we're doing 2. Next 2 VSTs are Valhalla Frequency Echo and Valhalla Supermassive. Valhalla is a really great company that does like crazy good reverb and delay and just plates and other things like that. Frequency Echo and Supermassive are more along the lines of the experimental side. If you're looking to do kind of weird things with your sounds, I definitely recommend them. Frequency Echo is kind of similar to a granular synthesis in some ways, where you can kind of mold and meld things that sounded one way and completely change how they sound before. They have a really cool video on their site of like frequency echo versus a drop of water, And when you hear it, just makes all these weird reverberations and just messes with it makes frequencies. It messes with the frequencies. I think it's a really cool thing to have in your arsenal. Definitely something cool if you want to like just mess with a melody or some sorts. I would throw it on stuff. I'd recommend it. Give it a try. Supermassive is kind of, I'll say it could just be a reverb if you want it to be. It's a wonderful, very simple reverb if you want it to be. But if you really want it, you could literally make it sound like bassy drone sounds. It's like just slowly reverberating away and closer and away and closer, and it's just cool sounds. I think it's awesome. You guys, like, you need to try it. It's both of these plugins are completely free. Try them out, give them a shot, and there's nothing wrong with having more free stuff in your arsenal. Next plugin we have that I won't say too much about is OTT by Xfer. And OTT originally was actually an Ableton multi-band compressor preset that they had made, and eventually they remade it into its own preset. OTT stands for over the top. That's exactly what it does. It feels like it crushes a lot of sounds, and you can take a lot of the stuff playing through it and just brings it down or messes with it in a way I can't explain. I'm probably going to play a sample of what it does right now, so look at that. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I recommend it. I think it's a must-have for every producer, because the way it crushes some of these samples and just makes them into these like just high bitey sounds is really cool. I've ran it on vocals a couple of times. I low-key don't recommend it, but I still do it sometimes. And finally, our last plugins are stock plugins. Look, I said a lot of plugins here. I think all of the plugins I mentioned are worth downloading and worth trying. I think they're all great for having in your arsenal. However, being able to maneuver with your stock plugins, being able to EQ things better, being able to run a reverb through them, and just having a lower CPU workload is already just so nice. Do I use non-stock plugins? Yes, I do. And I'm still gonna use them, and I'm still gonna use my stock plugins. But I want you to know, and I'm talking to you, I'm talking to the producer in his room right now, listening to this or watching this, and kind of getting this feeling of like, oh, I'm not gonna grow if I don't have this, I'm not gonna grow. No, that's untrue. That's completely untrue. Some of the best music was made off FL piano and just basic in-house drum sounds. People are making wonderful music every day, and they're not going out the lens, especially not like doing all this extra stuff. Now, I'm gonna offer you a couple of other thoughts at the end. Just experiment with your dog. Try out. See what the free resources are, because there are wonderful free resources out here. You think these are all the free plugins in the world? No, there's a crazy list. You can go to the EDM production Reddit. You can go to the beatmakers Reddit. You can go to all these other sites and forums and look for people who explain things to you. Hell, the Kenny Beats Discord. There are a bunch of wonderful people out there making wonderful presets they're handing out to people. If you're on Ableton, they have amazing free packs to download. One of my favorite pianos I've ever had is a free pack from Ableton. Another thing that happens a lot when you download a bunch of plugins you think you need is you get this constant, like, I won't even say bias, just this idea. I feel like it leads to beat block, essentially. Having to scroll through thousands and thousands of plugins, and you got like 50 or 40 different EQs. For what reason? Now, if you ever do want to buy plugins, I recommend, and like you want to do stuff like that, do it. There's no problem with it, but you need to understand that you don't need it. That's what you need to understand. You do not need it. All right, so this has been another Shamir Does Things YouTube video. If you like the video, leave a like, comment if you feel like I upset you, or if you wanted to tell me any other free VSTs that you guys think I missed that you want to put in the description. You can follow me on Twitter at Shamir IIIRC. You can also follow me on Twitch. I stream every Sunday on Twitch. We don't have a set time, but you can usually see us every Sunday. If I do not see you, have a wonderful good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Thank you for watching. Peace out.